It was called the miracle on the Hudson, the heroic landing of a passenger plane on the Hudson River 6 years ago. New safety recommendations followed, but those were just recommendations. Tonight, 6 years later, no one can say with certainty that you're any safer.
Chief Investigator Ron Regan has been digging into safety records and found key safety recommendations remain unresolved.
Hit birds who lost thrust on both engines returning back towards LaGuardia.
Both engines destroyed by a flock of geese.
We may end up in the Hudson.
And since then, we've found more bird strikes are being reported than ever before. More than 13,000 last year alone, including one just last December.
We were essentially about ready to land.
Ready to land in Baltimore. He was among 142 Southwest passengers on board a Boeing 737.
And it was as if we had hit something, and the whole plane shook.
The pilot declared an emergency.
Another person saying, I felt I was going to die.
Incredibly, it landed safely. But Federal Aviation Administration records we obtained reveal both engines were damaged, plus a hole in the wing by a flock of Canada geese. Photos of bird strikes around the country show just how damaging they can be. Since 1988, 258 people have been killed, 245 aircraft destroyed.
The population of large birds is on the rise.
Concerns over increasing numbers of large birds were raised by the National Transportation Safety Board 5 full years ago during hearings following the miracle on the Hudson. Christopher Hart is NTSB's current chairman.
We made several recommendations from the Miracle on the Hudson event, and those are still unresolved, but progress is being made on all of them.
For example, government-sponsored research continues into bird behavior.
It looks like he's getting ready to take off.
Everything from trapping them near runways here at Hopkins and around the country.
And when they land on this bar,
to keeping grass short is being tried. But 5 full years later, even the NTSB can't say with certainty you're any safer today.
Well, that's a good question. We're seeing indications that the size of birds is increasing in a way that could increase the risk, but on the other hand, we're seeing some countervailing indications regarding the numbers of birds. So we're still trying to get a handle on how serious is the threat.
One reason, NTSB can only recommend. It's up to the Federal Aviation Administration to adopt safety rules. And if it's surprising to you that safety recommendations remain unresolved, it's frustrating to this woman.
5 years later, we're still waiting on action on some of these recommendations. Safety has to be nimble, it has to be quick, and it has to be enough to address the issues that are out there.
One issue is engine speed. The FAA currently tests only at high speeds. NTSB has recommended testing at slower speeds.
Because at the end of the day, you don't want to test for the average of what could happen, but you want to test for the worst thing that could happen and protect against that.
And while reports of bird strikes are rising, there's something even more surprising.
It struck up in this area up here, and it took this entire part of the windshield out. All of this windshield was gone.
Michael Grossman was injured when a bird crashed through his cockpit window 11 years before the miracle on the Hudson. There's an underreporting.
yes. Oh, yeah. It was terribly underreported.
But despite repeated urging for years by the NTSB for mandatory reporting.
How bad is the problem? We don't know how bad the problem is unless we have robust reporting.
The FAA has failed to act, leaving researchers who depend on accurate data with only voluntary reporting.
We want to know where these animals are going, how high they're flying, what types of things attract them to the airport.
And as the reported number of bird strikes rises, so are concerns over safety.
Very frustrating when you look at the delays over time, and unfortunately, in some instances, you have to have that second event to really drive home the point. No, we need action now.
Well, the FAA declined an on-camera interview, but it has told the NTSB that it believes progress is being made, reporting is going up, and there were 183 fewer aircraft damaged last year compared to 15 years ago. Live at Burke Lakefront, I'm Chief Investigator Ron Regan.